Okay, I will call the Jamaica Select Board meeting to order for Monday, January 25th. And for first item on the agenda is a call for any other additions, late additions. Paul first, Tom next.
Yeah, in the absence of Bob Stomsky, I'd like to bring up a couple topics from the fire department.
Okay, we'll put that down. We'll just add on starting at 9. So
Sure.
9A fire deep pot. And Tom, and remind me if I miss it when I'm going through. I'm making notes.
Okay.
Andy and I went over, looked at the town hall. I want to just update on what we found, or what he found.
Okay, and I did have a couple of quick things too. I want to just make an announcement kind of thing on the regarding neighborhood connections and their offer of assistance for people in need for signing up for the COVID-19 vaccination, the plus 75-year-olds. I think that was it. Anybody, anything else? All right then. Next, to approve the minutes from our last meeting, the January 11th Select Board meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Tom, motion to accept the minutes.
Mm.
I will second. Andy, second. Any comments? Paul?
Just one,
Okay.
tiny little one on number 3, 4th line down. It says Erica would like to schedule a meeting where we could propose a couple of options as opposed to could purpose a couple of actions. That's all I could find. And I looked at
Oh man, that's good though.
one tiny little, sorry. She's looking at me evilly. No.
I'm just trying to get it right this time.
Okay.
Spell correct will change it for you anyway.
No, it won't.
Yeah. So anything else? Motion to accept the meeting minutes as amended.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I guess I was just making the new motion. So second that new motion. Tom seconded it and all in favor of the accepting the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I have to abstain.
4 in favor, 1 abstention. Okay, they're approved. Next item, to discuss and set the date for town meeting. And I guess as we all have probably heard, legislature passed last week. I think it's HS 48. I can't remember.
I sent it around to everybody.
Yeah. So that allows us as the town governance to move our date of our meeting. We obviously want to have it prior to July 1st because we need to approve a budget, but pretty much it's open game. Or we can obviously keep it the same, but I think there's a lot of sentiment that it's better moving it. So I'll open up for discussion.
I like to think of the first week of May as a possibility because the weather's going to be a crapshoot regardless of when we put it. But
Right.
May may be a little bit more of a less of a question than say April. The other thing is too, I'm still talking in terms we've discussed of using the garage. If we use the garage and open the doors and call it an outdoor meeting, we can have 75 people in and then up to 150 if we go out. I think that gives us an option of having the town have a meeting like we're used to in a location, possibly when the weather's better. That was just my thoughts on that.
Yep, I agree with that a lot. And I think that also gives us 2 more months. Obviously not everybody's going to be vaccinated by then, but a fair number will be. And also having it in May, early May, as opposed to going any later when the weather might be nicer, gives a little bit of time just in case the budget doesn't pass. I mean, that's one thing that gives us enough time to rewarn a meeting if we do have to make some adjustments.
Does it really though? I mean, does May really do that? If we have to have a budget in by July 1? I guess that's 8 weeks. And
You
we have to have
basically, I
45
think you have to,
meetings, right? So it's cutting it close.
it is kind of close, but you have to warn the meeting 30 days in advance, so
30,
we can
right.
immediately
30, it's 30, okay.
immediately
30.
reconvene, warn a new meeting for early June. Still gives a little bit of time.
My,
Still on a Tuesday?
That's the other item of discussion. I mean, I think it gives us an option. Maybe we want to think about a Saturday.
Well, can I make a motion that we discuss moving the meeting date? Or are we gonna go back maybe to keeping it? And that's why we're having this discussion.
I'm not, well, if I can talk, I'm not convinced that moving it is going to change anything. We can think that people are going to be vaccinated by May. I know myself, I don't think I'm going to be vaccinated by May unless I get vaccinated in New Hampshire at my job, just because of my age and the way that they're doing it through by age range. I don't know. I mean,
That's
granted, it's spiking right now, and do we want to bring everyone together when it is spiking? Probably not, but I'm not convinced that May is going to be any better.
I think you're probably correct along that. As far as the vaccination schedule, I'm not thinking in terms of vaccination schedule because we're going to be wearing masks and social distancing into
Yeah,
the fall.
yeah.
That's not going to change. I'm just thinking in terms of the potential for having decent weather. I like keeping it on Tuesday for tradition. I'm thinking the first week of May because it gives us the buffer, but I don't think the vaccination issues, you're right.
Yeah, I threw that out there as maybe things would, I mean, it gives us 2 more months of maybe, but it's a maybe. I think the big part is what Paul mentioned. Having a limit of 75 people indoors really is pushing where our meetings have been at. I mean, when you count all of us out up on the stage and the number of attendees. So if you can double that size by being able to have it at a semi-outdoor location, I think that's the main upside.
Can I ask Sarah something? Is anything moving that far ahead or moving it at all? Does it interfere with any of the town, the process that we have leading up to? So everything is
No.
okay. We don't miss out on any. I don't know,
No.
but I had something written down and I can't find
The
what it
thing
was.
about if we do push it to May and it does spike, like say worse than it's been, we can always choose to go to Australian ballot.
Australian ballot.
We don't have time for that now. Like we either hold town meeting on March 2nd or we're pushing it forward. We do not have time to do an Australian ballot at this point for March.
And
So that
actually,
leaves our options more
Right.
open if we do postpone.
Okay.
and if I can speak, I really do think that we have to very seriously consider delaying this meeting to allow us to have Australian ballot. I mean, if you just, read the news in terms of what's anticipated, we could very, very easily find ourselves in a position where we have to go to Australian ballot. And then it's a question of, how do we want to push information out to the town in terms of what's on the, what's being voted upon, et cetera, so that it could be a meaningful vote.
And I guess the last case scenario is we can always vote to change it again, so to speak. I mean, I know we run out of time, but that's still an option. And Joel, I'll throw out just a comment. Yeah.
Yeah, the Jamaica Dems, as they did in the last election, wants to run a candidates night. So an Australian ballot will make that tricky, but we need to know the details so we can figure out how to deal with it as soon as possible.
Everyone needs to know the details in the whole town.
Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.
Joel, but would you do a virtual meeting again? I mean, you're gonna not pull people together.
No, we wouldn't put people together.
Right.
I just want the details that I can report to them, and everybody else will enjoy having the details as well.
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
And I know Jamaica Journal is wanting to print the details as well for everybody
Right.
in this month's issue and the upcoming issue. So,
Sarah, how soon, and I can't recall for the Australian ballot, if let's say, just as hypothetically, we set a date in early May, and then a month from now, 2 months from now, whatever, how late can we go before we say, oops, geez, this still isn't going to work? How late do we need to trigger an Australian ballot? I can't recall. 40 days?
Today is the last day to put in candidates if you were doing Australian ballot on town meeting day. So however many days today is from March 2nd is how many days you
So
would need.
roughly 40, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that would give us till the end of March to see where we're at to reassess, I guess.
Well, I've got an idea. I mean, we could do a Saturday meeting. It's May Day, it's May 1st.
Have we ever considered an evening meeting? I know there's so many towns in the vicinity that do an evening meeting.
I don't
Sarah?
know if it's been.
We just went to Monday night meetings in Brookline 2 years ago, and we're actually getting less people than what we got on Tuesday during the day. So, I mean, that's
No
just Brookline. That's
kidding.
one town and we're very small, but we'd know this was my first town meeting last year, but they said that the numbers were much lower. So,
No kidding.
yeah.
All right.
I know that people, and again, I'll say this, that I talked with people after the meeting last year and said, why don't we do it on Saturday? I work all week. I can't come during the week. Why don't you guys do Saturday meetings? This is an opportunity for us to kind of pilot that. It's not holding us to doing it in the future. It's not holding us to do it in 2022. Maybe it's something that we do just to see if we get better participation or if we don't. I mean, again, COVID kind of throws a bunch of mess into that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. I think my personal comment, I mean, I don't have kids, but I know one of the things talking about the town meeting on a Tuesday is that there's no childcare, but that becomes an absolute issue in the evenings also.
And on a Saturday too.
It's always going to be an issue, I guess, but Saturday gives the option of at least the working people, the regular 9-to-5ers. I mean, you're gonna win and lose a little bit on both sides, I think.
But what you also have there is Stratton's closed. So these people who would say, I work on Stratton on Saturdays, the mountain's not going to be open. And in May, I mean, that's 2 weeks after the mountain closes or 3 weeks after the mountain closes, nothing's open. You know, everyone goes on vacation.
Yeah, it's like mud season.
It's like mud season, right?
Andy, I got some.
Yeah, it's just like, I know you've all thought of this, but you know what I think is gonna happen? I don't care when we have it. Be lucky if we have 30 people come out. With the age of, the average of our town, myself included, and if this COVID's still around, I don't think we're gonna have to worry about being over capacity at a town meeting. Now, I could be wrong, but I can't see people flooding into the town garage, be 100 people coming no matter what day we have it on. That's just a thought. That's just what I'm hearing and observing, that, we're walking around with masks on in the river bend, still getting out of each other's way, never mind thinking we're going to congregate in a building on town meeting day. I don't, it's hard to say, warm weather in May, maybe just that, psych would bring people out, that it's nice out, but I'm wondering how alarmed we should be about numbers this year.
Right,
Yeah.
but I think we need to do the delay so that we give ourselves some time to prepare for an Australian ballot. To your point, Andy, exactly. If number one, it just, the conditions are such that it's not really feasible to do an in-person meeting. Or, two, frankly, not enough people would show up to make it even worthwhile or worth the risk. Then we need the runway to do Australian ballot.
And just a procedural thing, I just want one question and I'll be quiet. If we go Australian ballot, do we have to do everything that way? Can it just be the budget, or does it have to be every article?
Every article.
Okay.
I think the other thing that I was going to bring up, I mean, makes sense here too. With some of these proposed things, I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but it relates to town meeting. If we do need to change our town charter in order to allow for hiring of listers. And as of now, May 2nd gives us enough time to warn those meetings and have, basically you need a hearing. So that also is an upside of pushing it out. It may not solve the problem of miraculously having 100 people show up at the meeting, but I don't see any downside to pushing it out. And there's a potential upsides of the Australian ballot and also the town charter change, that we can work into that. I personally like the idea of keeping it on a Tuesday, just, I mean, partly for the historic aspects of things. I mean, it's kind of a coin toss whether evening or Saturday will help, I guess. Paul?
Yeah, from strictly the psychological perspective, we're making one change. Making multiple changes will inevitably reduce the people who are coming. Having said that, Tom's point about having a Saturday meeting, there's been, even back years ago, there was always a discussion about moving to Saturday. Whenever it came up, it was always voted to maintain tradition and on the Tuesdays. Having said all of that, this is an opportunity. We had to change something anyway. If we go to the 1st of May, which is a Saturday, we can experiment with what we get for people. It's not a good experiment because not everything is neutral. The flip side of that is trying to maintain some kind of a coherent kind of a process over the years. So there's arguments from both sides just in that. So that when we start making a decision about how to do this, there's factors for both sides that I think are pretty valid.
I think this year's an anomaly.
Yeah.
I really, like I said, and as it gives us an opportunity to try out the Saturday without holding us to that. That's why I look at that. And I understand what you're saying with tradition, Greg. I just, like I said, I've heard from people, they complain about this. It's a way we can address it. It's a way that maybe more people will come. Maybe a different mix of people will come. Maybe we'll have some younger people come because they don't have to worry about kids. They don't have to worry about going to work. And maybe some of the older people will stay away because they're afraid of COVID. I don't know. But it may be a totally different town meeting than we've had last year and years past. I don't know.
One of the consistent questions that I had to deal with for the last bunch of years was the reason why the school budget goes through is because the school teachers are off work and the rest of us have to work. So what Tom's suggesting about bringing in a different mix of people would answer that question as well, where everybody's off work on Saturday, except of course the skiers. And you just already said that they're, closed. I think Tom's got a good point on that.
Thank you.
Don't let it, it's not a habit. We don't want to get.
Trust me.
I don't know. That's a great discussion. I think we covered lots of stuff. There's no motion on the table as of now. I don't know. I'll accept a motion to move things along.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to move town meeting to Saturday, May 1st at at 10 a.m. What time we started at?
10.
Wait,
10 a.m.
wait, but just before you finalize the motion, if it's on Saturday, May 1st, just working back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, fine. Sorry, I just wanted to run the math.
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
thank you, Jessica.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Greg, do you have any other comments that you haven't heard that?
No, you guys are covering it really well. What my main concern is participation. So what I'm talking about is there has been a tradition forever, as far as we are living, about it being on Tuesdays. There's been complaints about that. Let's try a Saturday, see what happens. And Paul makes a good observation. There's a lot of uncertainty because of the COVID issues. Let's give this a shot. Everything that the legislature has done is for 1 year only. Let's experiment. I'm good to go with this.
Right.
Cool, thank you. Yeah,
Just to be, I would wish it was on a Tuesday, but just for the record,
Yeah,
I don't like the day. I don't like the Saturday for traditional reasons, and I just don't
That is
think,
Green
I
Up
don't
Day.
think we'll see a lot more people on a Saturday than a Tuesday.
It's Green Up Day.
Uh-oh.
yeah.
I just checked. It's Green Up Day.
Calendar.
The other
Wow.
thing that was brought up, I mean, the May 8th, the following Saturday is Mother's Day weekend. So that was brought up as a comment too, that's, we go later. I mean, we can always go later. Terry had mentioned that a few towns have already gone to the 15th. of May. So that's not the end of the world, but it pushes
And it
us. It's
still
something-
gives us time to warn a subsequent meeting if we have
How
to.
about this? What if we move the meeting back? What if we say we start the meeting at noon?
We,
So on the 1st. So we started at noon. It gives people the morning to go out and do green up day, and then they can come to town meeting,
Assuming it's in person.
assuming it's in person. But
Right.
again, they can have a what do they call that? Community service day.
There you go. Actually, that's not a bad idea because if everybody's out and kind of doing something semi together, it could increase attendance.
We could advertise it that way. Go do green up day in the morning and come to town meeting in the afternoon.
that's quite a bit for one day. You ever do green up
I have many times.
and then go to town meeting for 5 hours?
All right, I can deal with sleepers. It's not a problem.
Paul, you have something?
Are we going to have to deal with this school? Anything to do with the school election on that day? Because
No,
historically,
no.
we one in the morning, one in the afternoon.
No,
Oh, they're out.
yeah.
We
Yeah,
don't
we
have
should
to
be
do anything
con-
about it, nothing at all. We're clear of that. So
right,
if
we should be concerned with the school budget, but not for that vote that day.
okay, the other piece of this we should consider peripherally. If we start at noon, that means we get together after lunch as opposed to starting early, breaking, going to lunch over at the church and coming back for the afternoon. So we advertise that we're going to be starting after lunch. We're not going to take the
Put it
break.
at 1. Yeah, start it at 1.
Yep.
Works for me.
I
Sure.
can't,
Like what Greg's saying, we're experimenting here.
right.
It's
And
not
the
a
thing
regular year.
I don't think anybody's going to want to be serving any type of lunch during
Right. It's no
because the
lunch.
average age of the
Well,
people
point well taken.
are in the kill zone.
Yeah.
It just seems kind of late in the day. Like, I know I'm at my best in the morning, and to come to work at noon to do town meeting is not really my idea of a good time. But I mean, I'll be there, but I would rather, if we're gonna do it on a Saturday, that it was at 10. That's just personal preference, so.
You know, this thing throws so many wrenches into things. It didn't even occur to me that the church may not be able to have their lunch that they've had.
They-
Traditionally, as we've had town meeting traditionally, and I've gone over to that lunch dozens of times. So that probably may not be happening because of social distancing.
It
Right.
won't be.
But
Yeah.
you won't think, there'll be other things we won't have, that will have got by us too, I'm sure.
Might wrap up sandwiches and have them on a table in front of the church.
It's really not it's just like trying to get the town business done. It's gonna have to make some concessions.
It sounds a lot like the 1 o'clock time frame for the afternoon. Makes more sense. Gives people time to finish the cleanup, grab something to eat and show up for the meeting.
Yep.
That's what I will amend my motion to change the time from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on May 1st.
Second, the amendment.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any other further discussion?
I think it's too late, but I'll go along with whatever you want.
All right, well, motion to accept the proposal to vote, what am I saying? All in favor of supporting moving the town meeting to May 1st at noon? Did we say or noon? At 1?
1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No,
One opposed. All right, thank you, everyone. So May 1st, 1 PM. And because of that, basically the meeting, the warning cannot be signed or for 40 days. At
40
least,
days.
what's the rule, Sarah, again? I mean, so we can't sign off on the warning tonight because it has to be done within
30
40
to
days.
40
of the
days
meeting.
before the meeting.
Yeah, so that too gives us a little bit of time if for some reason we want to do something different there. Tom?
How are we going to communicate to the community? We need to have some way, and I granted that the Jamaica Journal, well, Jackie will get something out there, but we need to communicate instead of just assuming people are going to be like, oh, when town meeting, it's Tuesday, right?
we could ask Chris Mays if he would be interested in, if the reformer would be interested in, you know, did they post the dates or
Or the
Would it be
Yeah.
such an abnormality, they would make a story about it or put it in the paper? I don't know.
But it's, yeah, we'll put the sandwich board up in town. Town meeting moved to May 1st, 1 o'clock.
Mhm.
I think that's a good, I think all these things, posting at the town office and at the store.
Sign at the post office, yep.
Yep. I mean,
Okay.
I think there's enough of awareness of what's going on in the world that I think people are gonna say, huh, what's happening with town
Mhm.
meeting? And they're gonna seek it out. And so we just gotta make sure that we get it out there.
I will put something on the website. as well.
On the website, yeah.
Okay. So do we not need to discuss the articles then, Greg, if we're
Correct.
40 days off? Okay.
Paul,
I
Do that.
I have a question though, because now you're, okay, if you're still doing it on the first, we can still do the floor. Who wants to run? Select board? That
Breaking
answers
up,
my
Greg.
question.
You're in and out,
Yeah,
in and out, Greg.
Did we lose him?
sorry.
It might work better if you put your picture down.
Good, yeah.
Still there?
Yep.
Yep, still there. Thank
I can
you.
hear you.
okay, we
All
hear
right.
you.
All right, so I just was talking about the various offices, but since we'll still be doing a floor vote, that covers being nominated from the floor, so we'll be fine that way. Unless you guys decide to change to Australian, and then that'll change the way the people are nominated for positions. So we'll see how it evolves.
Okay.
Yeah, so that puts it out. I mean, 40 days prior to that meeting would put it, our second meeting in March that we should, we'll obviously probably have a discussion well before that, but that's the latest we can decide whether we go to Australia.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul.
Yes. On the topic of kicking things down the road, number 4 says discuss articles of the town meeting warning. I'm not sure we need to wait. I think we should start thinking about these things. We've got some tough decisions to make. We've got to think about what to do with the listers. We got something to think about the charter. We may
Oh,
have to.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess that meant, and I apologize, that we're not signing off on it tonight.
Correct. But I'd certainly like to see the discussion started. I'd like to see just a rough idea of what we are anticipating needing to do.
Absolutely.
Is there a rough draft of the warning?
I believe there is. It's very rough. I know it's been kind of compiled just as pieces come together. But I don't have it in front of me and I don't even have it to share. I guess not planning or anticipating a plan B. I was anticipating we were going to change the meeting date and that we didn't really have to walk through it all tonight.
So let's right now, we know we're going to have to elect officers. Elect representatives. We know we have got to talk about the charter change that's going to have to be done to make the other item, the listers, viable. So those are the lister thing is going to be tough because our options are not really great, but we need to work on changing the charter. So we need to make at least one item that says we're going to change the charter specifically to address hiring versus electing the listers. That's at least one really big item. And there's liable to be some discussion about that. And I think that ought to get out into the town early rather than waiting until we actually have to print something.
I agree with that.
Discussion should get out there. I guess we're a little bit limited as far as actually signing off on the warning. We
Correct.
But
Can't do
we
that.
can still start the discussion for sure. And I've had some discussion with the town attorney about just the process to make sure that we do it right and that we warrant it correctly and that kind of thing and have the hearing.
And
We
just,
also are voting on having cannabis in town, right?
Yes,
Correct.
another one.
Decide on
Well,
last-
that's an article that's gonna go on.
That's on there.
Yeah.
already.
Right, we know that, right?
Well, I've heard everything on the radio. They list all the towns off and we're not on there. So I was like, well, no one cares
We
about us.
will be,
I guess we haven't warned it yet. That's why, but.
right.
there's also amendments to the town plan. So I wasn't sure, Greg, if you still kind of had that on the list of articles.
That's kind of an independent process, I guess. as far as I understand. I mean, there's readoption of those, or not readoption, but adoption of the revised town plan with the new articles. That goes through its own adoption process. There is a certification kind of process that
Right.
have to have a hearing for that specifically too. I mean, we can incorporate it all together, but it's not, I don't think it's necessary, and I never even thought of that. We would actually do it at town meeting.
Does Wyndham Regional address all that? Is that where that's sorted out?
How so?
Does Wyndham Regional, like, people, I've been to a couple of meetings where they bring the town plan up, say it was Londonderry. And did they give some kind of nod on that? Do you know?
I can speak to that. Yes and no. Wyndham Regional has been really good about observing and critiquing our town plan.
Okay,
Right.
Procedure where we submit it, they look it over, used to kick back things to me, and I look it over. Ultimately, they do approve of the plan before it's forwarded upstream.
all right.
Said that.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that's right. Having said that, the way we put the plan together is we will get the plan put together tentatively by the planning commission. We need to post it someplace, the usual 5 or 6 places, and then have a hearing for public comment after we posted the changes, if there are any, to the town plan.
Well, there are going to be some changes.
Exactly.
They've already been drafted
Right,
and
so
reviewed by the Wyndham Regional
it
Commission.
has been?
Yeah.
Has it?
I
Okay,
mean, that was some time ago. This was like, we were going to do it sooner.
Okay.
We, meaning our planning commission, was
Right.
going to nail that down sooner, and then COVID came.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, they need to be dusted off, but they're essentially done. Maybe Brian will submit it again for another, or Chris, for
Yeah.
another review. But it's essentially done. We'll have a black line version. I might participate in just drafting some explanations of why the updates and what they mean. But my recollection, and I could be completely wrong on this because it was over a year ago that we discussed this, I thought ultimately it went for a vote at the town meeting. That's not what you,
I don't recall that. I
recall?
remember
Okay.
we had to post it. We had to have a separate hearing
Right.
specific for townspeople to
Right.
vote, to weigh in on it. And I think that was it. I don't remember going to the town
And
meeting.
the board approves it, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And-
And I
and
and the
can touch
select
base
board
with
approves
Brian
it
too.
after it's warned and there's a hearing.
After the
Right.
hearing.
And
Yeah.
the town clerk certifies the mailing and all that. Okay.
Right,
All
Right.
right. Then I just made that up. So sorry.
Okay, no, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I don't know. And I
There's
did.
a-
Or maybe it's that you can combine your town meeting as the hearing. There was something
that struck me as novel, that when you said that, that's exactly
Right.
what I thought, is that maybe that can be the hearing.
Right,
I'll touch base. I mean, I talked to Brian a few weeks ago, and
right,
he was going to present to us the plan for the,
Right.
the timeline,
right.
and
Okay,
let
perfect.
us see, here's the new town plan with the amendments to it. I haven't heard from him what the timeline is.
Okay, perfect.
There's a Wyndham Regional Full Commission meeting tomorrow I have to go to. And maybe that's something I could ask about on or off the record, if you wanted.
No, that'd be great. Actually, I think every little piece of information, there's so many things, so.
I saw the agenda and I'm not really sure what actually is gonna go on, but it's, those are 3 or 4 times a year. And sometimes you hear people talking about town plans. And I swear they approve something. I think what Paul just said, they kind of say it should be okay, go ahead, do what
they
you gotta
mess
do,
up or whatever.
in layman's terms.
Yeah.
Wyndham
May,
Regional has a long history of being very, very helpful. on
Yes.
A lot of things, not always in a formal setting. Sometimes they just casually say, we'll look it over, you look pretty good, move forward. They've been really helpful.
Okay.
Right.
may I make an observation on this from the town meeting perspective? So I think what this would come under at this point, it's not going to be a warned article. It would come under other business where people could discuss it. You could do a presentation.
Right.
The general populace can discuss it, and there can be an advisotorial straw poll, basically. But in the long run, it is the board's decision how to proceed from that point.
Okay,
Oh, just to be clear how it works. Yeah, I see Paul looking thoughtful.
And that's so unusual.
I know.
Do we not have to warn the public meeting to discuss the plan? Would that be a separate warning or can that be combined in this warning?
I would, it'd probably be more clear if you warned it as separate. But the thing is, if you warn it, you're not going to have a vote on it from the floor. Or are you?
No, I don't think, I think what you said, Greg, was that it is the board's decision. So having discussion is fine, and maybe have that be the hearing. The town meeting can be the hearing, but it's not really, we're not going to vote on it at town meeting.
I believe that's correct.
So you put it under other business, which is not a voting procedure. It is informational. So
Right.
I just want to be clear where you want to put it in the town meeting structure. It's going to be under other business for discussion and an advisory review.
Yep.
And then it goes back to the board to make the final decision. I don't want you to warn it and then have people think they're going to make a final decision
Correct.
with a vote, because
Right.
that's not
Yep.
what is happening.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. And Andy, if you could just ask that same question to them, if that complicates the issue or actually
Yes,
helps by
I don't know
having
about-
that as a discussion at town meeting. It may just complicate things, but if it gives us good feedback, maybe it's worthwhile.
I always thought there was a hearing, and don't anyone take this the wrong way. I wonder how well attended the hearings are for the town plan. And then the select board adopts it.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
7
Having-
years, that's my recollection.
Having the hearing at town meeting may make it more attended. I
Right.
agree
I
with you.
can
I think
ask
it's
them
very
on the
well attended.
side, or
Yeah.
I can ask, or I can call.
Okay,
So your question is, what? Do you want to vote on the plan or have a hearing at the town meeting, or just do what Greg said?
No, I think this is discussion, right? We're still,
this is discussion,
Discussion.
Or
This
or
is
what if we
discussion.
had a discussion?
but to ask
Exactly.
Andy what to ask the Wyndham Regional.
What if we had a discussion about the town plan at town
Your
meeting?
what you're doing is your information gathering for a final vote. There's the difference between the two. You're keeping it informational, you're gathering information so the board can later go on to make an informed decision.
Mhm.
So it's not part of the warned items in the town meeting.
Makes sense.
Okay, any further discussion on item 4 on tonight's agenda for discussing the town meeting warning? I would say that that for our next meeting, we'll have a draft of the warning so that we can all see it in advance of the meeting, and we can finalize it at that point. We won't actually sign off on it, but we can say, okay, what do we want on it? And then we'll still have a month to sign off on it.
Yep, makes sense.
Okay, and more or less the same thing with the budget. Terry's on to number 5 on the agenda. Terry's posted the revised proposed budget. We don't obviously sign off on it, but we can, send it on its way. Same thing. I mean, we got a few more months, I guess, but I don't anticipate that we'll make any changes to it. So it's out there.
She had said that there were some changes. She said that she
right.
left some out of the revenue, she left some out of the expense, and it ended up lowering the actual rate a little bit. So that's good.
Yeah,
Yes,
the
she has
changes are
posted it.
highlighted in colors on the last
Yeah.
Excel file.
Right.
But Tom, I thought in the last meeting you raised the prospect of adding a bit of money as a budget for sprucing up the town hall.
We'll talk about it when I talk about that.
Okay,
Talk to Terry. We can
So do
take it out of reserve funds. There's 4,000 in there right now. And
okay,
we could take it out of reserve if it went above that.
okay, fine,
Um,
okay, just wanted to make sure. Otherwise,
Yeah, okay, so there, we're moving off of number 5, unless there's anything else regarding the budget. On to item number 6, which we kind of got into a little bit already, discuss the process to change the town charter regarding the board of listers. So as of today, Lou has resigned his position as the chair of the board of listers. With that structure, we do need to have at least 2 people be listers. So currently we don't have a quorum within our board. We need to work on that independently of actually changing the town charter and moving, because that's not going to be till May. Or even after that, because the town votes to approve it, and then it needs to go to the legislature to make the changes to the charter. So we need to have a working plan in between then. From my little bit of homework that I've done is that we can, as a board, appoint people to fill the positions, because we now have 2 open positions. If we don't find eligible candidates or people willing to fill those roles within the town residents, we are allowed to move outside of the town residents to appoint somebody. I don't have enough information on how to all go about, when do we decide? I've got it on my agenda, so to speak, to talk to Barbara, to Micah, and to Valerie, who was a former lister in the town, just to see if any of those people are interested, and possibly others out there that, because we will need to appoint 2 listers to fulfill the role of the board of listers.
Quick
Well,
question.
Lou
When you were
said-
speaking with council, are we not, if we're not able to identify individuals to appoint as substitute, are we not on a temporary basis able to retain an assessor? I mean, ultimately, that's what we're going to want to do, right? Give the town, us as a town, the flexibility to either have listers run for election or to simply use an assessor, right? The law allows us to do either.
The way our charter is written, we could have it written so give us the option,
Option,
or you could
right.
just leave it out would be the best way to do it, because
Or leave it out, right, exactly, because the law allows us that flexibility.
Yeah.
But in the interim,
I don't
do
have
we-
the answer to that. I know what you're saying.
Okay.
I did not ask that specifically.
okay,
Didn't
because I
Lou
think
say
we
he
might
would
have
help
that
us?
option.
Greg?
So Lou did say he would
say
help us. He would act more or less as far as I understand the naming conventions of things, he would help us as the clerk, but he need to resign his position as the actual lister, because the charter says it has to be a resident, and he's now moved. So he will help us and guide us. And he's open and willing to have conversations, but he's not technically a lister.
No, I remember he told us he would. He would.
Yeah, he said he would.
Paul probably
Yeah.
remembers better.
So we could appoint him if we move beyond the point of, finding other listers within the town.
If he wants that, though,
Right.
what does he want? Do you know?
I haven't talked to him about that angle.
Okay.
Paul,
There's another possibility I've been thinking about, and I don't know if it's viable or not, but historically, we've had a lot of involvement with I'm blocking on the name of the outfit that used to come in and help out and do the not listers. Well, yeah, the listers.
appraisals.
What was the name of the company?
I can't, Patriot? Do
Patriot's
the
is all-
appraisal?
NEMC.
Who?
NEMC. They did our reappraisal.
Oh, I'm wondering if contacting them might provide us with some professional assistance in the interim. They may have within their bailiwick of stuff a way to provide that. And they've already got the groundwork laid. I mean, they know what we've got. They know our system. They know our software. They may be able to provide some help in the interim while we're deciding whether we're going to hire them or somebody else. But
Right.
they may be of service now.
Well, that's what I was just suggesting, that we find out if we have the option,
Mhm.
if as a select board, we're really not able to identify individuals who
Right.
are willing to be appointed,
Yeah.
then do we not by law have the flexibility to hire an assessor? And
Right.
and Paul, by assessor, I mean as in the statutes, assessor.
Yeah.
So,
I
if
know.
the firm qualifies as an assessor, then
Sure. And I don't know exactly how they qualify, but they are as far as a backup position, they've spent as much time in that lister's office as I have over the years. They certainly know what's going on, and they're eminently qualified to look at what we have to see if we're doing it right or wrong. They ought to be able to offer some assistance in the interim.
Yep, that makes sense. I'll talk to our attorney, our counsel. When the last time I spoke with them, there was a whole bunch of hypotheticals.
Yeah.
What do we do if this happens, and what do we do if that happens? Now we kind of know a lot more what has happened and say, okay, what do we do now? What are our options right now? I kind of understand it from the top level to say, look within the residence and then turn to outside the residence, but I don't know where we can actually deviate to say, does it have to be an individual, or can it be a firm, or can it, those types of questions.
Should we start the process of soliciting for applicants now?
To fill this temporary gap between now and
Advertise for listers, see what we get.
certainly. I mean, I guess that was my first step, was to go back to our
Yeah.
former or more recent listers to fill the role temporarily if they're interested. And then,
So, right, do something beyond word of mouth, which is what Greg is doing. Is that what you're saying, Paul?
Yeah, put it up, advertise it, stick it on the wall in the post office, put it on our websites, the usual.
Put it in the Jamaica Journal.
Yeah, put it in the instruments that we have at hand. If we
Sure.
don't hit anything at all, then we can go to the Brattleboro newspapers. But go ahead and start looking in the local area now.
So what specifically, we're looking for a resident who wants to be a lister.
Exactly.
yep. And we have the ability to say, pick one or two.
Well, we're going to have to interview and vet them all anyhow.
Right.
Greg, can you get the details, or Sarah, to Jackie? Because she'll put it in there, like, what's expected of this person? Is there a salary? That kind of stuff.
Sure.
Put it in the paper.
I'll work with Sarah to do that. I don't know off the top of my head exactly how
Yeah, I know,
the job description is, but
Yeah.
we can get something.
Paper goes out.
It
next
might
week.
I
be
think will help with that
somewhere
too.
Yeah,
already
I mean,
where I can
even
find it.
yeah, even on the state Secretary of State website,
Right.
there's a description of what a lister does. There's a lot of really helpful information there, and it's a compensated position. So
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, she's publishing next Monday, so.
right, Sarah, if you want, I can pull some stuff too. Just
Folks, can I
it's
make an
probably,
observation? Sorry,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Greg.
My next concern would be, so you're dealing with stuff in real time. You've lost your listers. You're trying to fill those positions. You're going to advertise. That's good. But let's go back to the charter change issue. Because would that be part of a warrant article in the town meeting if there's a charter change?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you talk about that? Let's bifurcate it and talk about that for a moment to see how you want to present that to the town.
Well, right now I have a draft, and I'm calling it a draft, but it's what was, I guess, Nick Lowe, who's our attorney in Paul Gilly's office, we had talked about. And so he has drafted up what that would look like as far as the, putting that into the warning. Is that what the question was?
Yes,
Greg, you're on mute.
I think he's breaking up a little.
Okay. I see the
Andy's
mute.
on mute too.
have to be, otherwise you guys break.
Yeah, okay,
God.
okay. Why, what, did I answer your question?
Yes, if you've got an official document for wording from Nick Lowe, that sounds exactly.
Yeah, and I felt this one made more sense to run it by him. And he's also said he's happy to look at all of our, the items on our warning. A lot of them are straightforward, and we think we do them every year, but I always, there's so many nuances to all this just to make sure that we get things worded correctly.
What you want. Fees will do that, things much more comfortable for you as
Lost you, Greg.
Missed you a little bit there.
I'm just pleased they have somebody going through so that you're comfortable and I'm as a presenter.
Okay, I think I got the gist of it. Pleased that we're having somebody look at it so that we're comfortable and Greg is comfortable as the presenter.
Bingo.
Okay.
If any of you
Okay, so
want to
that's-
work on connections for us way out of town when it comes to technology, I wouldn't mind that.
Okay, there's an idea.
Not an idea.
You're supposed to be served first. That's what they're saying. The people way out of town where there's no internet are going to get service first.
Greg's first on the list. Yep.
Oh, that's what they're saying.
No, exactly. You're right.
Un-
But quite literally, Greg will
Not
be
served
first.
and underserved
Yeah.
first. I digress.
Okay. Anything else? I mean, that's still a work in progress, I guess, as far as the listers. And
Just
changing
back to the
calendar.
listers, as Jessica said, I read on the Vermont site, the roles and responsibilities and the difference between an assessor and a lister. It's very, very helpful.
Mhm,
You want to know a lot more quick, it's right on your phone.
Exactly.
Okay. On to next item, number 7, just an update on Under the Mountain Road naming. Tom and I and representatives from Londonderry and Wyndham met last week. And Erica definitely right on top of things as far as what we need to do and outlining some proposals, or outlining a method, not proposals, but you know, what we need to do. You know, Londonderry is working on renaming their roads. So basically the proposed solution was to have Under the Mountain Road called Under the Mountain Road all the way through Londonderry. And then as it enters Jamaica, which is currently legal trail number 8, and have that continuation called Under the Mountain Road, and rename the portion of Under the Mountain Road that's in Wyndham now. So there's no confusion from a 911 perspective. I am still working through, I don't see anywhere in our road naming ordinance that we have to have a hearing. And second to that, I believe, and there's some history, I think that we're looking into too, that it may have been called Under the Mountain Road way back before it was changed to legal trail number 8. So technically we're not changing anything. We're continuing with it as Under the Mountain Road. We already have some 911 addresses on there as Under the Mountain Road. So the solution is kind of falling out perfectly for us, that we really don't need to do anything.
Question.
Yeah, Paul.
If in fact there was a predating a legal action that we took, changing it from Under the Mountain Road to a legal trail, did we give that up? Did we make that a legal process, or do we just start calling it a trail? The question I bring it up is because if in fact at some point we called it a legal trail, do we then want to undo that
Right.
road? Or can we just call this a road and a legal trail for maintenance purposes?
I think we're talking two different things. What I
Yeah.
got from the meeting, Greg, the legal trail is a legal trail, but the 911 address
Yeah.
doesn't care if it's trail or road. And that's where the name of the road is in the 911 name of legal trail 8 is Under the Mountain Road in Jamaica.
Okay.
Right.
So we're talking apples and oranges. We're talking road maintenance and those types of things. That's one piece. But
Right.
we're talking 911 address. Someone has a heart attack down there. They want someone to go down and know where that
Right.
is.
Right.
And that is what, when 911 was set up, that was legal trail 8 was assigned Under the Mountain Road, and that's what those addresses are out there. That's
Right,
my
that makes sense. That's a better summary.
So,
Yep.
so Greg, as far as your research shows, we don't actually have to take an official position. It's more of an administrative change.
Right.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be bad off that we make that proposal that we call it Under the Mountain Road. I mean, it's our legal trail 8. We don't have to have a hearing or anything because we're not
Okay.
changing that official designation.
So are you looking for a motion?
May I make a historical observation?
Absolutely, if it adds to it, for sure.
Back in the day, Bob Sager was part of the renaming of the roads and the numbers for each individual town road. You might want to ask him what he remembers of this, because he came to me, and that's why I was able to name my road Broken Glass for 911 purposes, because Bob was the pivot person to deal with 911 issues.
I believe Erica has spoken with him, but I can talk to him and also just confirm what she may have said. It's fallen down, I think, to us that it's really comes down to the town from either VTRANs or 911 to call it something. And if it's already called that, then we don't really need to do anything.
Okay.
And my understanding from the meeting, what came out of this meeting was Wyndham needs to change their roads. What do we call it? Glen Falls Road. They're going to name the stretch that goes from Toad Road out into the wilderness there before the road breaks. Now, supposedly there's a Jamaica address over there. So we may have to do something with that, Greg, that one address that's sitting between Wyndham. It's actually in Londonderry. So the road comes out of Wyndham and then it goes into Londonderry and then it
into Jamaica,
skips into Jamaica and then it goes back into Londonderry. We do need to do something with that road potentially, that little stretch there, but I don't think we're equipped tonight. I think we'd have to get Erica back in to kind of coach us on that and figure out we need to figure out what that was actually assigned. Is that
do we need to do something there?
Yeah, what trail is that in Jamaica? And then if it is a 911 address that was under the mountain road, then we would need to change it to Glen Falls Road to keep in line with what Londonderry and Wyndham are doing. But they're really the ones who are changing. They're changing different trail numbers in theirs, and they're changing different road names in theirs. It's much more in their bailiwick than ours. We don't have a lot to do. And we're talking about a single address that would need to change. So again, I think I'd be more comfortable if Erica could come in and explain to us what that is, or if we could talk with either Lexa or Keith or somebody, see if,
I have bounced it off of Lexa too, and she was getting back to the fire department. So that there's the 911 aspect of it all is a big part of it.
Right. But we do have to address that one address. I'm just not certain what Jamaica calls that legal trail there and what that 911 address is for that one property. And my guess it is under the mountain road that needs to be changed to Glen Falls Road.
Yeah, I'll check with her too. For some reason, she did say there was a structure there. I didn't remember that it actually had a 911 address.
It's a cabin that's still viable. There's a lot. There's a lot of structures that are failing, but there was one that actually is still viable. That's in Jamaica. The actual building is in Jamaica.
Okay.
So
okay.
We need to address it. Else, if something happens there and they think it's under the mountain road and they're heading down towards the dam, and that's not going to be cool.
Yeah, we're actually got ourselves in the middle of cleaning up some stuff that was out there for a long time. So it's like you said, Tom, it's in Londonderry and Wyndham's a lot more of their bailiwick than ours.
Yeah, they got a lot more.
I will circle back with Erica, or unless you'd like to, Tom. It doesn't matter to me.
Whatever, if you want to, that's fine. I'll do it. No, why don't you do it? That's fine.
Okay. And I've been having a conversation with Lexa too, just as the road commissioner and how it impacts that side of things. So. Okay. Well, that was more of a whole lot to do about nothing, I suppose, but that's the update. No action at this point.
Think of it as a learning experience.
I'm sorry?
Think of it as a learning experience.
Learning experience, yeah. So, okay.
Working experience.
Yeah, working, not learning.
Sounds working together to make something happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One less confusion on the 911 map. Item number 8, after our last meeting with Laura Stone and the VTRANs meeting that we had regarding the Depot Street Bridge, she sent out a summary with the meeting minutes and all that kind of stuff. They're looking just for any final feedback from us. I passed it back to everybody. I thought they did a good job at summarizing the comments, taking the meeting minutes and things like that. So I didn't have anything more to add, but I didn't know if anybody else had. We have until the end of the month, or end of this week, I guess.
Were they sent out to us?
Yes,
I did fairly, not immediately after the meeting. It was sometime right beginning of the new year. So
I'll go back and look.
I got them.
I'll go back.
And to go along with that, I did send a letter to Chris Campany asking, on behalf of the select board, asking for any assistance he may, or the Wyndham Regional could give us, seeing us through this whole process. And haven't heard back, but I might hear something tomorrow.
Yeah, that's great. I think any help we can get is good, especially again, if they can bring the players to the table.
Right.
Okay, so that's that. Again, if someone wants to reread it and it's got to the end of the week and to get back to Laura with any other comments, but I think they did a pretty good job summarizing stuff. Item number 9 is to certify the town highway mileage for VTRANs. I apologize, I don't think I sent that out, but that's typically something that's done every year, just to certify our highway mileage. Lex and Keith has confirmed that nothing's changed. This is just what they take back, which then translates into how much funding we get.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does whatever they've certified, does that dovetail with our proposed budget? That was the only question I had. Presumably, yes.
All I know is nothing's changed. So how much money they give us, though, is from that. The mileage
Okay.
hasn't changed, but it doesn't really. The budget, the dollar amounts aren't in here at all. It's just says we have X number of class 1, 2, and 3 roads.
Right.
What
I'm
would
just
change
curious
is
if,
if we didn't do that, something would change. We would lose some funding.
right. I was just curious
That's about
whether
it, though. That's
however
about
many
all it is.
miles of road we have yields the number that we're putting in our budget. This is my first year at this, going through this process.
But I guess that multiplier that's in there, I have no idea what the
Right.
what you take
Right.
X number of roads times X number of dollars, what the answer is, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we
Right.
just say how many miles. The state tells us what they're going to give us.
Right.
Yeah.
And they give you nothing if you don't send it in.
Correct.
Yeah, so we're better off than
Pretty
that.
much all it is.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm not objecting to certifying. It was really just a question.
That's about all I know about it too. It's just like, if we don't do it, we lose a lot of funding.
And I guess just to make this official, it doesn't say that it says signatures, please sign. So I will leave this. Sarah will have a copy in the office. So if anybody can come in, I
sign.
think we have until the end of February even to sign off on it.
I'll
February
come in
20th.
I'll be in Wednesday to do it.
Okay. Item number 9A, Paul, Fire Department.
9.5. A couple of things, and this is aimed at the entire town. Once again, we like to reiterate that people would help themselves if they would make their house numbers visible from the road. Last week, since the last meeting, Bob and I were going up and down the road looking for some place as a fire call, and we could not find it because the numbers were not on there. Now, the family in there were renting it, so it's the homeowner's responsibility to make those numbers visible from the side of the road. If this is a life or death situation and we can't find the place for 5 or 10 minutes, that could be kind of important. So we'd like to reemphasize that. Number 2 on the list of how to help yourself in case of an emergency, if you have a long driveway and your parking lot gets plowed or sanded, consider plowing and sanding the entire driveway. As some of you know, we had one of our units slid off the road last week, returning from sadly a false alarm, but nonetheless, the truck is wrecked and will be wrecked for a long time to come and will be very expensive. Point is, road was terrible shape. If you have a road that accesses your property, consider the fact that we may need to get up there in an emergency, and we can't call for a plow ahead of us. So have that, build that into your budget, and please plow and sand any access to your property before we need it.
Isn't it the law, Paul, that you have your address so the fire department or 911 can find you? Is it a law?
I don't know if it's a law or not. I know there's been discussion about it, but I also know that we end up driving around and we can't find it. So if it's a law, I don't know
I
who's,
thought it was, but
but it's
yeah,
just common sense. If you want help from us, got to tell us where you are.
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, and the other flip side of that is if you put your numbers out, it may be the guy next door. We can extrapolate to figure out where the heck he is. If you could just let us know where you are. Thanks.
No, that's all good. Thank you. Number 9B, Town
So-
Hall update.
Yeah, so Andy was kind enough, thank you, Andy, for going out and looking over the town hall, and we met, when was that, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, I don't remember. And so there is some work that needs to be done, painting at least on the outside, in particular, the trim, the white trim above the door. You know, the side also along the sill was needing to be done. So, you know, Andy was going to come up with an estimate. I'm going to bid it out as well, and see what we can get done. I think it's a good time now. We're in January, so hopefully someone could get to it, you know, in the spring or summer. But it definitely is a little bit run down and definitely needs some work. So I didn't see any serious damage, but you know, you never know. You get up there, who knows? So,
It's heading for a little more than maintenance painting.
right.
There's some places to fix now. And
And there's
what
some
is, what,
water damage.
how much money can the town spend before it has to be voted on or an RFP has to go out?
$500, I think.
How much?
I think it's 10, isn't it?
I don't-
10,000?
You can
Okay.
go to 10 without having to go with an RFP or to go. We get, Sarah, correct me, it's been a long time since I read
It's
that.
$500.
Yeah.
500.
It's
That's
500.
it?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a low
500?
number.
It's 500, and if it's
levels
over
to it.
500, it has to go out to bid.
Okay.
I learned this.
Yeah.
And there's no reason not to
think
get
so.
a triple bid. Why wouldn't
No,
we?
the only reason I asked that is like, how much, if you put it out for bid, you gotta, how much do you want to get done? I mean, that's the thing. Is it gonna be, that's why I asked if it was like a $10,000 and it just needed a couple $1,000s worth of work. That's why I was asking. I thought the last time when we had Stuart do some stuff on the town hall, did we get 3 estimates?
That was Judy. Judy did that work. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, but we voted on it.
Yeah.
I think she was having trouble getting anyone to call her back.
Right.
Get 3
Okay.
estimates. And
Yeah.
Stuart then stepped in and got it done.
No, if it's 500, that's all, that's good to know. I thought it was more than that.
Hang on a second. There's a difference between going out to bid and getting 3 estimates. When we did some of the roofing work that I've had to supervise, we got multiple estimates by calling other agencies.
Right.
And that's one of the things that Judy ran into, is she was calling people and they weren't answering it back. We did not go out to bid on those projects. We pulled in 3 estimates. And I believe the ceiling for that is 10K. 10K over, you've got to go out to bid. Under 10K, we can obtain 3 estimates and move forward on the select.
What is the difference between getting 3 estimates and a triple bid?
Like
Yeah,
a sealed bid, basically. A
The triple
sealed,
bid is, there's no such thing as a triple bid. What we're talking about is we get 3 estimates, you can have 4 or 5, whatever, minimum of 3. Going out to bid means doing an RFP and publishing it.
Correct.
Oh, a public
Officially sending an RFP
request
out
for
from the
proposal.
Versus
For proposal,
Calling
yeah.
up a few places and say, hey, will you meet me at the town hall? I get with Annie. Hey, will you meet me at the town hall and give me a ballpark, what you think this would cost? And write me up a quote. It's very different, right? Now you can do an RFP and you can get the same result, but it's not required.
And RFPs are expensive, and we know our local people anyway. So historically, we've gone for these kinds of things. If it's under 10K, we've done the 3 bid thing. $500 for, office supplies.
I think that's what I recall. It's for above $500, you're supposed to get 3 bids.
Yeah.
Correct. That's what it is.
And then
Yeah.
above 10,000, then you need to do an
Yeah,
RFP.
do
A
an
formal
RFP.
RFP.
I
Yeah.
believe that's correct.
Yes. Yes. Sorry. I thought you were saying we don't need to get 3 bids until
Anyway.
it's $10,000. And I was like, no, that's, yeah.
So the second piece is I still haven't connected with Jay Stone from the Women's Auxiliary around the air conditioning. Again, Terry said we could take it, depending on what that would be. I haven't even started that process of getting anybody to quote that out. I want to connect with her before I do that. I left some messages for her. I haven't heard back. So I will try either this week or next to get a hold of her and try to push that forward a little bit. But that's it from the town hall.
Okay, thank you. The items, the next items are the review of the town, the pay orders and the listers and highway transfer station hours, all those good things. Terry's got them posted up on the drive. I took a quick look. I didn't see, there was nothing really out of the ordinary, but definitely go check a look at them. If you see something, let me know. I'll go in like I usually do later this week and sign off. That was it. On to other public concerns. Any other public? We got Joel and Greg on there.
I
And
have one.
Sarah too. So
Actually, this is a technical question for Sarah. After the voting in November for the justices of the peace, is it the beginning of February that we come in and sign up to be official again? Am I remembering correctly?
Yeah, yes, I want to say it's by February 21st, but I'm not certain. I will look tomorrow and send an email to all of you.
Perfect. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
And as part of extending our town meeting date until the beginning of May, all of us are board members till the beginning of May. So hopefully that's okay too.
Via.
What were you going to talk about, Greg? You said you were going to make some announcements too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did want to just bring up, there was a discussion that Karen brought up yesterday regarding the state of Vermont's opened up a sign-up registration form for 75 years and over to get their COVID shots, vaccinations. There was concern among the little group of whether, how much access the seniors had, whether it was lack of computer skills, internet, lack of understanding of what they needed to do in any one of those types of things. So Neighborhood Connections was included on the chain, and they have actually taken this to the next step. They are set up and have staff to be able to walk people through to register to get their vaccinations. So if anybody is interested, and certainly share it, because posting on the website's really not getting at these people either. Karen's going to post it at the store and things like that. But if people need assistance with registering to get vaccinated, they should either call Neighborhood Connections. It's 824-4343. Or for those that do want to assist with anything and find out more, it's at neighborhoodconnectionsvt.org. And I can work on getting either that to Sarah also to post that information up on the website. So that was the update on that. That was kind of brought forward, just thinking there's some people out there that are going to need some assistance signing up.
I just have one quick announcement too. Jamaica Journal, Jackie Brown is looking for articles, events in town. Again, it goes to press next Monday, but if you have anything this week, you can send your information to Jamaica Journal Editor at gmail.com, and she'll get in contact with you, and if you want information to be disseminated out. So that's all.
I should probably tell you this in person, Tom, but I have tried to sign on to that
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't like my email. It says your email's no good, my Gmail.
What's your
So-
Gmail? What is it?
It's andrewspainters@gmail.com.
I'll see what I can do. I may sign you
I
up.
don't know why it's kicking me out. I've tried to get on a few times.
I'll
I'm
take
just
it.
wondering if it's the first you've heard or,
It's what monkey or MailChimp, so I don't know.
okay.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn from Tom. Jessica nodded a second. All in favor? Yes, we don't even need to vote, but we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.